Yo, what's up guys, Fleur here, and this is going to be another one of those videos for college football. This is going to be following week 2 with my top 25 bowls and the Heisman watch that I have. Alright, so let's get started with top 25. I'll put it on screen now, and this is how I'll do it, the pattern, each video. This is how it's going to go. So I'm just going to start off now. Number 1, Alabama stays at number 1. They're now 2-0 after beating Kentucky 35-0, or Western Kentucky 35-0. My bad. And number 2, USC, they beat Syracuse 42-29, so they stay at number 22, or at number 2. And then number 3, LSU, they won 41-3 against Washington, and they are also number 3 still. And number 4, Oregon, was number 4 last week as well, and they beat Fresno State 42-25. And then number 5 still is Georgia. They're 2-0 after beating Missouri 41-20. That was a pretty good game at first, and then Georgia pulled away late in the second half. That was a good game. Number 6 still is Oklahoma. They beat Florida A&M 69-13. Pretty easy game. Nice bounce back game since they barely beat UTEP last week. Number 7, and they were number 7 last week as well, Florida State, 2-0 now. They won 55-0 against Savannah State. And now, when we start mixing things up, number 8 will be Clemson. They moved up from number 10. They won 52-27 against Ball State. And then number 9, they were number 9 last week as well, West Virginia. They're still 1-0. They did not have a game in week 2. And then number 10, South Carolina, they moved up from 11, and they're 2-0 now after beating East Carolina 48-10. And moving up from 12 to 11 is Virginia Tech, and they won their second game against Austin, PA or something like that. Their score is 42-7. And then moving up to number 12 and 13 is Michigan. They are now 1-1. They beat Air Force 31-25. Their defense looks a little shaky, but you never know because they had to defend the triple option. Number 13, Michigan State. They moved up from number 15. They beat Central Michigan 41-7. And then jumping up from number 20 all the way up to 14 is Kansas State. They are now 2-0 after a huge win against Miami, Florida, 52-13. Lots of people thought that was going to be a close game. And then moving from 18 up to 15 is Texas, and they won 45-0 against New Mexico. Moving from 19 to 16 is TCU. They did not have a game in week 1, and then week 2 they had their first game, and they won 56-0 against Grambling State. Moving from 22 up to 17, Florida, they beat Texas A&M 20-17. That was a close game, really good game. Florida was able to pull out the win. And then Louisville, they were 24 last week, moved up to 18 as they beat Missouri State 35-7. And then Notre Dame right behind them from 25 up to 19. They beat Purdue 2017. That was a good game as well. Purdue could have a pretty good season. You never know. And then Stanford, they move up from 21 to 20. They beat Duke 50-13. That's a pretty impressive win after they barely escaped San Jose State in week 1. And then Northwestern is at 21. They moved up from 23. And they beat Vanderbilt 23-13. And then our four new teams, 22 to 25 are new teams because I dropped out. Arkansas, they got upset in overtime by Louisiana Monroe, so they dropped out. Who else dropped out? I dropped out Oregon State beat Wisconsin, so I dropped out Wisconsin, and I dropped out Nebraska. They lost to UCLA, and I also dropped out Oklahoma State. And Oklahoma State was kind of surprising that they lost that game because they demolished Savannah State 84-0 in week 1. But yeah, I dropped out Oklahoma State as well because they lost, and it was a pretty bad team too. Alright, so now number 22, UCLA, they won 36-30 against Nebraska. They're now 2-0. And then number 23, Tennessee, is 2-0. They beat Georgia State 51-13. And then number 24, Mississippi State, they just beat Auburn 28-10. Auburn started off the season 0-2 after Mississippi State beat them pretty easily. Number 25, I have Baylor. They did not have a game this week, but in week 1 they beat SMU. They're 1-0. They had to replace RG3, and they're looking pretty good. So that's my top 25, and now we're gonna get in the Heisman. Last week my top 5 was Matt Barkley, Geno Smith, Monty Ball, D'Anthony Thomas, and Bernard Robinson. That's pretty much the same, but I dropped out Monty Ball. Wisconsin is just having a horrible season, so he's out of the race pretty much. So my top 5 for after week 2 is gonna go Matt Barkley, Geno Smith, D'Anthony Thomas, Bernard Robinson, and then Aaron Murray is new at number 5. So Matt Barkley, he threw for 187 yards and 6 touchdowns and 1 interception, and he completed 77% of his passes. And then at number 2, Geno Smith had a bye week. I keep him at number 2 because he was so impressive in week 1. So he had a bye week. Number 3, D'Anthony Thomas moved up from number 4. He's like a really good running back / wide receiver. He had 4 receptions for 26 yards. And rushing, he had 102 yards for 2 touchdowns. And then number 4, we have Bernard Robinson moving up from number 5. And he had 20 carries for 218 yards for 2 touchdowns. He averaged almost 11 yards per carry. He had a really good game. Also was 14 of 25 passing for 208 yards and 2 touchdown passes. Number 5, Aaron Murray. He was 22 of 35 with 242 yards and 3 touchdown passes. He had a good game. Some other key performances. I start off with the 2 receivers from USC. Robert Woods had 10 receptions for 93 yards and 2 touchdowns. He also had a 76-yard rush. He did not score though. He almost did. And then Marquise Lee, the other receiver, he had 23 rushing yards. And then for his main stats, he had 11 receptions for 66 yards. And I say 66 yards, that's not that much, but he had 3 touchdowns, which is very good. And then also Landry Jones had bounce back performance. He was 19-28, 252 yards for 2 touchdowns, although he did throw an interception. And then Kenny Stills, Landry Jones' receiver at Oklahoma, he had 10 receptions for 120 yards and a touchdown. And then Kenyon Barner, the main running back at Oregon, he had 34 carries for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns. He also had 21 receiving yards on 3 catches. And then the final performance I have here is from Taj Boyd. He's the quarterback at Clemson. He was 19-23 for 229 yards and 3 touchdowns. He had a pretty big game. So that's it for this video. Please like if you enjoyed, comment your thoughts. And as always, I hope you enjoyed. Have a nice day. Peace.